The series begins in a forest. We see a person waking up in this forest. This person, by the way, is named Jack. When Jack first wakes up, he doesn't know how he got there. Furthermore, his body is nearly paralyzed, and he can't move. However, after a short while, he manages to move his body and gets up. He searches his pockets and finds a small bottle. Jack then starts wandering around until he hears screaming coming from a distance. He follows the sound until he reaches the ocean. It is here that Jack finds many people. Some are injured, some are screaming, some are calling for help, and many more are suffering. We realize that Jack and all these people were passengers on a plane, and that plane crashed, stranding them here. These are the survivors. Naturally, many people died and there are many injured. Importantly, we also learn that Jack is a doctor, so he immediately decides to intervene and help those he can. Jack finds a pregnant woman and rushes to assist her. During this time, we see that one of the plane's propellers is still operating. This propeller pulls a man toward it, literally mangling him. The propeller then explodes, causing a huge blast, but everyone manages to escape, and no one else is harmed except for the man who was mangled. Jack continues trying to tend to the pregnant woman. He finds a young man and asks him to stay close to her and notify him if anything happens. Jack then goes to help another woman. With this woman is a young man named Boone, who works as a rescuer and was trying to save her. While Jack is helping and treating the woman, he notices a piece of the plane is about to explode near the pregnant woman and the young man Boone. Jack rushes over, moves them away from the explosion, and they are unharmed. Afterward, Jack takes a moment for himself and realizes he is injured. He asks a woman nearby named Kate to stitch the wound he has. She agrees and successfully stitches his wound. Eventually, the atmosphere calms down a bit at the site, and everyone gathers together for the night, waiting for the rescue that should come to take them away from this strange place where they have crashed. However, something strange happens at night, my friend, because everyone hears a monstrous sound coming from the forest, but no one dares to go and investigate the source of this monster. In summary, Jack later has a flashback of being on the plane. We see Jack sitting next to the woman he rescued with Boone, if you recall. They talked, and the woman told him about her beloved husband who was traveling with her but was currently in the restroom. By the way, my friend, this woman's husband died in the actual plane crash. Anyway, while Jack was talking to this woman, the plane suddenly hit an air pocket and began to fall, until everyone found themselves here in the forest. The memory ends, and we return to the present. We see Jack decide to search the plane's cockpit because it must contain a transmitter they can use to contact someone, request help, identify their location, and be rescued. Now, Kate and another survivor named Charlie decide they will also search with Jack for this cockpit, as they still don't know where it is located. Jack leads them, and they wander around the forest until they actually find the cockpit. It was destroyed and lying in a hidden spot. They enter it and search for the transmitter but don't find it. Instead, they find the pilot himself, who is still alive despite being badly injured. They inform the pilot that they need the transmitter. He hands them a cordless radio, but just before they can use it, they all suddenly hear the sound of that monster they heard the night before. Jack, Charlie, and Kate panic and hide. The pilot, however, goes out to see what is happening. But suddenly, something unseen pulls the pilot away. Blood splatters everywhere, and it is clear that the creature has killed him. Jack, Charlie, and Kate are terrified and don't know exactly what happened, but they immediately exit the cockpit to look for the pilot. During this, Charlie sits down. Jack goes to him, helps him up, and assists him. A little later, Charlie approaches Kate, but Jack is not with him. She starts questioning him about Jack, and it's clear that Kate does not trust Charlie at all. Charlie tells her that Jack is still searching for the pilot. So, they go to look for him as well, until they meet Jack, who has finally reached the pilot's corpse. Everyone is shocked because the pilot was horribly mutilated, looking as if a monster had consumed him. They immediately realize the creature whose sound they heard must have been responsible for killing the pilot. Terror seizes all of them at that moment. In any case, Kate, Jack, and Charlie decide to return to the others at their makeshift camp. During this time, Kate talks to Charlie, asking him why he went into the cockpit's restroom when they first arrived. Charlie tells her he went because he was feeling slightly nauseous. Kate accepts this, but the truth is entirely different. Charlie is actually remembering the past when he was on the plane. At that time, Charlie was feeling unwell, and a flight attendant approached him to ask what was wrong, but he didn't tell her anything. Afterward, Charlie went into the restroom, pulled out a bag of drugs, and used some. Since Charlie knew the flight attendant was suspicious of him, he was afraid she would find the drugs or powder he had. So he quickly hid the bag in the cockpit's restroom. A short time later, the plane began to crash, and we realize that Charlie went back to the restroom because he wanted to retrieve his bag of powder, not because he was nauseous as he claimed. And the memories end there. We return to the present and see everyone back at the camp. We see a father searching for his young son, named Walt. This father approaches an Asian couple, who are also surviving passengers, and asks if they have seen his son, Walt. However, they speak a language he doesn't understand at all. The father senses that the couple's behavior is slightly strange, but he ignores them and continues searching for Walt. Walt, my friend, was looking for his dog but couldn't find it. Instead, he finds a set of handcuffs. Shortly after, Walt's father arrives, and Walt shows him the handcuffs. Walt's father is surprised and realizes there was a prisoner on the plane with them, and he is now free. Anyway, Walt and his father return to everyone at the camp and inform them about the handcuffs they found. Everyone becomes concerned, realizing a prisoner was on the plane. Consequently, they all decide to be careful until they figure out who the prisoner is. A little later, two passengers start arguing. One named Sawyer and another named Saeed. Sawyer is actually bullying Saeed because he is Arab and Muslim, even accusing him of being the cause of the plane crash. However, everyone intervenes and stops the fight. Kate, Jack, and Charlie inform the group that they found a radio transmitter, but can't get it to work. Saeed tells them he can fix the radio, and he takes it aside to begin repairs. A little later, Saeed informs Kate that he couldn't fix the radio because it isn't actually broken. They just need to take it to a higher location to get a signal. Since there is a mountain nearby, Saeed decides to climb it himself and send the signal from there. During this time, Kate, Charlie, Boone, his sister named Shannon, and Sawyer all decide to go with Saeed. They start their journey to climb the mountain. Along the way, they all hear a terrifying sound around them, causing them to flee the area. Sawyer, however, pulls out a gun and starts shooting at the thing making the terrifying noise. He manages to hit and kill the creature. Everyone gathers to see what Sawyer shot. They discover it is a bear. They are surprised by the appearance of the bear, as it is a species that should not be able to survive in these forests at all. How it got here and is still alive is unknown, but that's not the main issue. The real issue is that everyone sees Sawyer had a gun, and Kate immediately takes the weapon. Saeed then suggests that Sawyer must be the prisoner who was wearing the handcuffs, arguing that Sawyer was being transported to America by an officer for trial. When the plane crashed, the officer died and Sawyer freed himself and took the gun. But Sawyer insists that none of this is true. Kate then dismantles the gun so no one can use it, and she continues walking with the group until the truth is revealed. Kate then begins to remember some memories while on the plane. We now see that Kate was handcuffed on the plane, and she was accompanied by an officer transporting her to America. Yes, my friend, Kate was the prisoner being transported to America, not Sawyer. We see that when the plane began to fall, the officer was severely injured and lost consciousness. Kate immediately took the handcuff key from him and freed herself. The memories of the past end here, and we return to the present. We return to the camp and see Jack trying to treat a person. This person now wakes up, and he turns out to be the officer who was transporting Kate. The first thing the officer says when he wakes up is, "Where is she?" We realize he is asking about Kate because he wants to arrest her again, and surely when Kate returns to the camp, this officer won't let her go. In any case, we return to Kate and the others, and we see that they have successfully reached the top of the mountain. Saeed then uses the radio. The moment he uses it, the device receives a message that someone had sent, and the location of this message is the very island they are on. Everyone is delighted, believing the message is from the forces coming to rescue them. But, my friend, this message was spoken in French. Fortunately, Shannon, Boone's sister, knew some French, so she translates the message. The message was sent by a woman asking for help, stating that everyone who was with her had died, and she was the only one who survived and needed someone to come save her quickly. Here, everyone realizes that a woman was stranded or kidnapped on the island and sent an SOS message. But that is not the terrifying part. The truly terrifying thing is that, at the end of the message, the number of times the message had been repeated is mentioned. From this, my friend, Saeed realizes that this message has been broadcasting and repeating for almost 16 years. The woman surely died a very long time ago. Everyone is terrified because they understand that this island held a kidnapped woman or someone in distress 16 years ago, and literally no one received the message except for them now. This means no one has reached this island for 16 years. They realize that there is a 99% chance that no one will come to rescue them, as this place is virtually isolated from the entire world. Just imagine, my friend, the amount of terror everyone feels now. The next day, we see Jack is still treating the officer, but the officer senses he is about to die. Consequently, He keeps telling Jack that Kate is extremely dangerous and that he must be careful of her. He informs Jack that he was transporting her to America because she committed many crimes. The officer actually shows Jack a paper with Kate's picture on it. This was the wanted poster for her arrest. Jack starts to feel wary of Kate, and this upsets him somewhat because he had begun to feel attracted to her. A short time later, one of the survivors named Hurley arrives to help Jack. Hurley sees the picture of Kate that the officer had, and he too realizes she is highly dangerous and wanted by the law. Remember this detail about Hurley, as it will be important later. On the other side, we see that Kate is still with Saeed, Charlie, Boone, Shannon, and Sawyer. Everyone currently decides to camp in a spot for the night and simply return to the main camp the next day. Saeed is talking to the group now and tells them that they are located somewhere near Sydney, Australia, because they were all flying from there originally. But their exact location remains unknown to everyone. Saeed also tells them that they must not tell anyone at the camp about the message that has been repeating for 16 years, so that no one loses hope. Everyone agrees to Saeed's suggestion. They then go to sleep, but not long passes, my friend, before everyone wakes up and finds Boone holding the gun, because he took it from them while they were sleeping to guard them. However, everyone feels uneasy about Boone for taking the gun without asking. They refuse to let him keep it and agree that Kate should hold it, a wise choice. The next day, everyone returns to the camp. Kate talks to Jack and informs him about the message that has been repeating for 16 years, and what this means. That no one is coming to rescue them. Jack is disheartened. He asks Kate if she has anything to confess about being a fugitive, but Kate says nothing. Kate then goes to check on the officer in the tent where he is lying. The officer wakes up and begins to choke her to kill her, but Jack arrives and pulls him off her. Jack then approaches her, and Kate tells him they must kill the officer to end his suffering. But Jack completely refuses. He tells Kate he saw her wanted picture and knows she is a criminal. He threatens to expose her if she touches the officer, then leaves. A short while later, Kate meets with Hurley, who sees she has the gun. That same night, Kate enters the officer's tent again. He wanted to talk. The officer starts speaking about the moment he arrested her. We now return to the past. The flashback begins 3 months ago. Kate was on the run in Australia. One day, she was sleeping on a farm owned by a man named Ray. Ray finds her but doesn't harm her. Instead, he simply asks her to work on the farm. Kate works with him for nearly 2 months or more. One day, she decides to escape, but Ray sees her fleeing. He tells her he will drive her to the airport since she genuinely wants to leave. Ray drives her in his car. On the road, Kate sees a police car with an officer following them. Kate realizes Ray betrayed her and told the police. She confronts him, and Ray admits he saw her photo, knew she was a wanted fugitive, and that there was a reward, so he reluctantly turned her in. Kate becomes furious and immediately steers the car, causing it to flip over with her and Ray inside. Kate exits the car and leaves Ray, but she sees Ray's car is about to catch fire. She quickly pulls him out and saves him, but she is too late to escape. The officer arrives and arrests her. The memories of the past end here, and we return to the present. The officer now asks her why she saved Ray. She tells him she doesn't kill anyone, which is why she saved him. The officer understands her position and asks Kate if he will die. She tells him Jack said he will die, but in a few days, not immediately. The officer is terrified of suffering, so he asks Kate to finish him off. But Kate neither agrees nor refuses, and we don't know her final decision. But at that same moment, outside the officer's tent, Hurley approaches Jack and tells him that Kate has a gun. Jack realizes she might kill the officer and starts walking to check on her. But Kate exits the officer's tent just then. Jack assumes she killed him, but he can't say anything because he hears a gunshot from inside the tent. Moments later, Sawyer exits the tent. Jack realizes Sawyer killed the officer. Sawyer tells him that the officer requested it because he didn't want to suffer. But before they can finish talking, they all hear the officer's voice. They enter the tent and discover the officer wasn't killed instantly, but the bullet hit his lung. This infuriates Jack with Sawyer because the officer will now literally suffer for hours before dying. Jack orders Sawyer to leave the tent. Sawyer exits without a word, genuinely upset by what he did. Shortly after Jack exits, the officer is finally dead. We understand that Jack finished him off to relieve him of his suffering. Jack then goes to sit with Kate. Kate is about to finally tell him the reason for her arrest, but Jack stops her. He tells her he doesn't want to know because their lives before the plane crash were one thing, and their lives here are completely another. They don't need to know anything about each other's past, nor should anyone here know she was a fugitive. Kate respects this and remains silent. A little later, we see Walt's father sitting with his son. Walt, and asking him about a man named Locke, whom Walt's father sees his son constantly spending time with. Walt tells him that Mr. Locke is his friend, a kind and simple man, and he likes sitting with him. Furthermore, Mr. Locke promised he would look for his lost dog and has not given up on him, unlike his father who gave up on the dog from the moment they crashed. Walt's father is upset by this. He immediately goes to help his son look for the dog, but they don't find it. He becomes very frustrated and forgets about the dog again. But soon after, we see Mr. Locke actually finding the dog. He ties it to a tree and then goes to Walt's father, informing him that he found the dog and he can go now, take it, and give it to his son so that his son will love him very much and remember that his father helped him find his dog. Walt's father thanks him, goes to get the dog, and takes it to Walt. At this time, my friend, we see Locke sitting and observing them. It is clear that Locke is not normal. He appears kind and simple on the outside, but he harbors a secret inside. To understand the secret behind Locke, we must return to the past, my friend. So, we return to the past and learn that Locke used to work as a colonel in the army, but Locke is currently working in customer service for some company. What happened to him that led him to this situation? We still don't know the truth, but we notice that Locke's young boss constantly mocks Locke, always telling him he is unfit to be a colonel. I know, my friend, you don't understand the meaning of this at all, but bear with me and everything will be clear later on. We continue in the past and see Locke talking with a friend. We understand from their conversation that Locke intends to travel for a hunting trip in Australia and will take the woman he loves, named Helen, with him. Locke's boss arrives and continues to mock him, saying he plans to go on a hunting trip even though he can't actually walk. This annoys Locke, but he doesn't respond. That night, we see Locke at home, talking to the woman named Helen. He tells her he is going on the hunting trip to Australia and wants her to join him. Helen then shocks him by saying there is nothing between them for her to go on a trip like that, and she has never even seen him. She is only talking to him because he pays her for the calls, nothing more, literally the height of cruelty. Therefore, my friend, we learn that Locke is ill to the point that he pays Helen just for the call, yet he loves her despite never having met her, the height of sickness. In any case, the days pass and Locke travels to Australia for the trip he planned. Locke is sitting with the representative of the company running the trip, who now tells Locke that he won't be able to go with them because they didn't know his condition was like this. It is only now, my friend, that we learn Locke is paralyzed and lives in a wheelchair. This is why he left the military service, and it's also why his boss constantly mocks him because he can't move. And, of course, he can't go on a hunting trip because he is paralyzed. How would he move? The company representative tells Locke that they booked him a flight ticket to travel from Sydney, Australia, to America so he could return to his home country. Indeed, my friend, Locke got onto the plane that would take him to America, and then the accident happened and Locke found himself with all the other people on the island where they are now. But, my friend, we see that when the accident occurred, and after the plane was destroyed and he woke up, Locke found himself able to walk perfectly normally, as if he had never been paralyzed and nothing had happened to him. Locke himself doesn't know how this happened and strongly suspects that the place here contains magic or some special power that restored his ability to walk again. This was the secret behind Locke. The memories of the past end here, and we return to the present to continue our story. We see, my friend, everyone is now sleeping in the camp normally, but suddenly, they all hear a noise coming from a destroyed section of the plane that was nearby. Before anyone can approach and find out exactly what the sound is, several wild boars rush out of that part of the plane and run away. Naturally, chaos ensues and one person is injured. Eventually, everyone realizes that the wild boars were attracted to the site by the corpses in the destroyed section of the plane. So, Jack suggests that they must burn all these bodies and dispose of them so that no problems like this happen again. Everyone agrees to Jack's suggestion. The next day, a new problem arises for everyone when Hurley informs them that their food is almost finished. Locke intervenes at this point and informs everyone that they can hunt the wild boars in the forest and eat them. Locke also shows them that he has hunting gear, knives, and all these items since Locke was heading on a hunting trip, as we said, and had taken all these things with him. In summary, everyone agrees to Locke's suggestion. They decide that Michael, Walt's father, since his name is Michael, Kate, and a few others will go with Locke on the trip to help him hunt the boars. Before Kate leaves, she goes to Saeed. He gives her a radio transmitter that he built himself and asks Kate to use the device when she is in the forest, because it might be able to pinpoint the location of the Frenchwoman's repeating signal they intercepted earlier, so they can know exactly where the message was broadcast from. Kate agrees to Saeed's plan, takes the device from him, and heads into the forest with Locke and Michael. We will see what they do. But now, let's stay with Jack for a moment, because he notices that a woman with them named Rose is always sitting alone. Rose, by the way, is the woman Jack and Boone rescued immediately after they crashed onto the island. Jack asks Rose what is wrong. She tells him that her husband was in the rear section of the plane, which crashed in a different location than where they landed. She doesn't know how her husband is or even where he is now. Jack tells her that her husband probably died, but Rose isn't convinced. She tells Jack that her husband and the people who were in that section of the plane could easily be alive, just like them, but in another part of the island. Jack considers Rose's theory and feels it might be right. We now leave Jack as he is and go back to Locke, Kate, and Michael, who are walking through the forest searching for a wild boar to hunt. Along the way, a boar attacks them. Everyone manages to distance themselves from it except for Michael, whom the boar hits before running away. Michael's injury is quite serious. Kate decides to take Michael and return with him to the camp, while Locke decides to continue searching for the boar because they desperately need food. So, Kate and Michael return to the camp, and Kate tells Jack that Locke is dead. "My friend." She says this because, as she was walking with Michael, she heard the wild boar fighting violently with Locke. During this conversation between Kate and Jack, Jack glimpses a person standing far away, dressed in a suit. This person suddenly vanishes before his eyes. Jack is surprised by what happened, as this is not the first time something like this has occurred since he arrived on the island. He asks Kate if she saw anything, but she denies seeing anything and tells Jack that he might be tired and needs sleep. However, Jack is not convinced that Locke died so easily and decides to go look for him in the forest. But Jack doesn't need to go anywhere because, after a short while, Locke himself arrives, having successfully hunted the boar. This, of course, impresses everyone. In any case, later that same night, we see everyone holding a wake-like ceremony to burn the bodies of the people who died, as agreed before. Everyone is deeply affected. Locke, meanwhile, stands watching his wheelchair being burned along with the bodies. He feels as though he is finally ending a very difficult chapter of his life. The next day, my friend, Jack wakes up to a new disaster because a man and a woman were drowning in the ocean. The man and woman had survived the crash but landed far away from everyone else and were swimming toward the group. Jack rushes into the water and manages to save the man, but tragically, he fails to save the woman, and she dies. This makes Jack feel immense guilt, believing he is responsible for her death. Another problem then arises. Charlie and Hurley approach Jack and inform him that the fresh water will soon run out, and he must find a solution. Yes, my friend, he needs a solution because the water surrounding them is plentiful but salty. Jack tells them he will not make any decision right now that could cause another death. He leaves them and walks away. Jack then sees the same man in the suit he imagined before, and we learn that this man is Jack's father. Jack chases him this time, thinking he sees him for real, but he can't catch him. Wait a minute, why is Jack imagining his father so vividly? Especially now. What happened between them previously that makes him imagine him currently? To understand this, we must go back to the past a little. We go back to the past and learn that Jack's father was a very famous doctor, but his relationship with Jack was always strained due to his alcoholism. To illustrate, we see a time when Jack, as a child, went to his father bruised and in a terrible state. Instead of comforting him, his father mocked him. Years pass, my friend, and we see the adult Jack. We learn he had cut off contact with his father for a while, but he knew his father was in Australia, so he traveled there to look for him. He eventually found his father, but as a corpse, realizing his father had died recently and was in the hospital morgue. Jack was extremely shocked when he learned this, as he had been estranged from his father for all that time, despite having a very serious reason for cutting ties, which I will tell you about shortly. In any case, we learn that Jack was in Australia specifically to look for his father, and when he discovered he had died, he decided to retrieve his body and return to America. However, the accident happened and he crashed onto the island. All these factors caused Jack to imagine his father. Also, remember that I will tell you shortly what the major mistake Jack's father made that caused Jack to cut ties with him for so long. The memories of the past end, and we return to the present. We see Jack still imagining his father in the forest and chasing him to catch up, until, in the middle of all this, Jack nearly falls off a hill. Luckily, Locke arrives and saves him. Locke then sits with Jack and tells him his strange secret, that he was paralyzed, and after the plane crash, he was able to walk again. Locke tells Jack that the place here has something magical, but he can't understand it yet. Jack is unconvinced by this and thinks Locke is just hallucinating. However, Jack continues wandering the forest until he reaches a cave. Inside this cave, he finds a waterfall of fresh water. He is thrilled and rushes back to the camp, where he finds everyone arguing over the water supply. Jack tells them he discovered a source of fresh water and that they must all go live in that cave, right next to the water, so they can drink freely without having to constantly transport water. But not everyone agrees with Jack, as many feel they must stay near the beach so that if a plane or ship happens to pass by, it can rescue them. Jack tells them he is going to the cave alone. Anyone who wants to come and live with him can, and those who don't are free to stay. Indeed, the very next day we see Jack taking Kate, Charlie, Locke, and many others who agreed to go with him, and they head towards the cave. After a short while, they reach the cave, but at the cave entrance, there is a beehive that Charlie accidentally breaks. Because of this, the bees swarm and sting everyone. However, after a little while, everything settles down, and everyone decides to take water from here and carry it back to the camp to give to the people there so they can also drink. They take water and start their journey back. At that same time, but back at the camp, the situation was unstable, my friend, because without any reason, we see the Asian man attacking Michael, Walt's father, and beating him severely, trying to kill him. Naturally, no one knows why he is doing this. Since the Asian man and his wife, son, don't speak English, no one can understand them at all. However, everyone pulls the Asian man off Michael and handcuffs him until they figure out why he is acting this way. Now, Sun herself, the Asian man's wife, starts remembering some memories from the past. My friend, we return to the past and learn that Sun and her husband were originally from Korea. Sun's husband was working in a restaurant, and Sun came from a very wealthy family. Although they loved each other, they knew it was impossible for Sun and her husband to ever marry. But one time, we see the Asian man telling Sun that he spoke to her father, and he agreed they could marry. Sun is extremely happy. After a while, Sun and the Asian man get married, and their life becomes comfortable because the Asian man starts working for Sun's father. One day, the Asian man returns home covered in blood. Sun asks him what exactly happened. The Asian man tells her he was finishing a job for her father. And here, we unfortunately learn that Sun's father employed the Asian man for dirty, shady work, such as beating someone up or finishing someone off and so on, because the Asian man is very strong and a professional fighter. After this happened, Sun couldn't bear it, so she decided to escape with the Asian man from her father. They organized their affairs very well and board the plane that would fly them to America. But their luck is terrible. The accident happens and they crash onto the island with everyone else. This, in brief, was their story. In any case, the memories of the past end, and we return to the present. We see Sun going to Michael to talk to him. She speaks to him in English, which confuses Michael, as she had led everyone to believe she couldn't speak the language. Sun tells him that her husband doesn't know she speaks English, and he must not find out, as he might misunderstand her intentions. Sun also tells him that her husband attacked him because he saw Michael wearing a watch. The Asian man had originally taken this watch from Sun's father and was supposed to protect it for life. He could not abandon it because it represents his honor. It's part of their customs and traditions, which don't concern us, but the important thing is that the watch represents his honor. Michael tells her he saw the watch lying around, so he picked it up, nothing more, meaning he didn't mean anything by it. Michael then goes to the Asian man, gives him the watch and uncuffs him, telling him that the matter between them is over and they shouldn't speak of it again. The Asian man agrees. Michael uncuffs him, and the incident is resolved. And the good news is that shortly after, Jack and the others arrive and give everyone water, which, of course, cheers everyone up. The next day, Jack and all those who agreed to go with him set out again toward the cave to live and settle there. Among the people going with Jack are Locke and Charlie. We see that while Charlie was walking in the forest, he was unfocused and not in his normal state. This is because, my friend, he hasn't taken his drugs for a long time, as Locke, knowing about his drug addiction, took the drugs from Charlie so he wouldn't use them again. Suddenly, Charlie hears an animal sound chasing him, so he runs away from it. Then whoosh, the animal falls into a trap. Locke appears out of nowhere and tells Charlie that he set the trap to hunt the animal for food. Charlie is annoyed that he was used as bait but doesn't dwell on it much. He asks Locke for his drugs. Locke tells him, "I will give them to you if you ask me 3 times. Charlie is surprised by this, but he doesn't ask for the drugs again. He leaves Locke and walks away. Charlie then begins to remember some memories from the past. He too, like everyone else, has flashbacks. And, my friend, I want you to anticipate that throughout the series, you will find many people constantly remembering many things, so try to piece the events together with me. In the past, my friend, Charlie was once in a church, talking to the priest and telling him he would quit singing because he didn't want to pursue anything sinful. Charlie leaves the priest and is walking away, but he is surprised to find his brother, Liam, waiting for him. They talk, and we learn they used to sing in a band together. Liam tells Charlie he can't leave the band and must continue singing with it. Charlie agrees, forgets his wish to quit singing, and returns to perform with Liam in the band. Their closeness, my friend, leads Charlie to learn drug use and addiction from Liam. However, after a while, a problem arises between them, and they separate and drift apart. Years after all this, we see Charlie visiting Liam in Australia. We learn Liam also quit singing and quit his addiction. He is currently married, has children, and lives a very peaceful life. On that day, Charlie visited Liam and asked him to return to singing together like old times. But Liam flatly refuses, saying singing would only destroy his life again, just as it was before. Charlie gets angry and tells Liam that he destroyed his life and made him an addict like himself, then completely abandoned him. Liam, who is now well, seems to care less about Charlie's state. Liam sympathizes with Charlie and is genuinely upset about what he did to him, offering Charlie to live with him in Australia for a while to get treatment. But Charlie refuses. Charlie leaves Liam and walks away. Charlie boards a plane to return to America, but he never gets there. Instead, he crashes onto the island with everyone else. This was Charlie's story in general, and his addiction in particular. The memories of the past end, and we return to the present. Charlie and the others now reach the cave and decide to move in. But Jack and Charlie enter the cave alone, and the cave suddenly collapses and seals them inside. Before it fully collapses, Charlie manages to escape, while Jack remains inside the cave and is trapped. After a short while, when Charlie escapes, he decides to go back to everyone at the camp to ask for help to free Jack. But at the camp, my friend, we see Saeed, Boone, and Kate talking. Saeed tells them he has found a clever idea to pinpoint the Frenchwoman's signal and know exactly where it was broadcast from on the island. Perhaps they can find someone there to help them. Saeed's idea, in short, is to build 3 rudimentary energy triangles or towers in 3 different locations on the island. Someone will stand at each pillar, and they will activate these pillars simultaneously. Saeed will be at one of the pillars and will turn on the transmitter he has, and this way, he can pinpoint the exact location the Frenchwoman's signal came from. The 3 pillars will be, one at the beach where Boone will be, one in the forest where Kate will be, and one in the middle of the island where Saeed will be. Indeed, the 3 of them now know their roles and take their positions to activate the 3 pillars so Saeed can capture the signal. Just then, Charlie arrives at the beach and informs everyone that Jack is trapped inside the cave. Everyone rushes to help Jack. Even Boone leaves his pillar and asks Shannon to activate it at the right time. As for Sawyer, he goes to tell Kate, but he doesn't actually tell Kate anything, he just literally bothers her. In the end, he tells her that Jack, whom she loves, will die in the cave. Kate gets angry and leaves Sawyer at the pillar where he is, expecting him to activate it, while she goes to help rescue Jack. The 3 pillars, Saeed, Shannon, and Sawyer, are activated at the same moment. Saeed successfully locates the signal's origin. But before he can do anything, someone comes up behind him and hits him with a piece of metal, knocking Saeed unconscious. We still don't know who did this. On the other side, we see Charlie leaving everyone at the cave, where they are trying to save Jack. He goes to Locke and asks for his drugs. Locke tells him this is the 2nd time he has asked, and if he asks a 3rd time, he will give them to him. Charlie gets annoyed and returns to the cave. He discovers that they have dug an entrance to the cave, but only someone very thin, like Charlie, can fit inside to rescue Jack. Charlie indeed enters the cave. When Charlie emerges, he finds Jack trapped under a huge rock that completely prevents his movement. Charlie shoves the rock off Jack, literally saving his life. Finally, my friend, Charlie feels his life has meaning, and that he has done something right for once. But unfortunately, Charlie and Jack cannot get out of the cave because the exit the others dug was sealed again. Just in time, however, Kate arrives and helps everyone dig through the passage. And finally, Jack and Charlie safely exit the cave, and the problem is solved. A little later, Saeed returns, injured as we mentioned. Jack immediately helps him, and Saeed tells Jack that he doesn't know who attacked him exactly, but it must be someone who doesn't want them to leave the island, as Saeed is the one trying to get them rescued. However, he will keep looking and investigating until he finds out who did it. A short time after all this, Boone arrives, and he too is injured. He informs everyone that Sawyer was the one who hit him. Why did Sawyer hit Boone, my friend? The story is simple. Boone lost his bag, which contained some of his belongings, including a novel and Shannon's asthma inhalers, Boone's sister, as she has asthma and occasionally needs her inhaler when she feels unwell. Boone says he found his novel with Sawyer, realizing Sawyer stole his bag and the inhalers. Boone asked him for the inhalers because Shannon was sick, but Sawyer refused to give them to him and hit Boone. Jack is furious with Sawyer and goes to him, demanding the inhalers, but Sawyer refuses to give him anything and actually wants to fight him. But Jack decides not to engage and leaves him. Kate then goes to talk to Sawyer and asks him to give her the inhalers, but Sawyer still refuses. Kate tells him that she often sees him reading a letter and becoming emotional, and it's clear there is a good person underneath, asking him why he keeps acting like this and bothering everyone. But Sawyer tells her he is not a good person, that he is trash, and that he will remain trash regardless of what they think. He then gives her the letter she mentioned. The letter is written by a child and sent to Sawyer, telling him that he was responsible for the death of the child's mother and father. Kate realizes here, my friend, that Sawyer caused the death of the parents of the child who sent the letter, and that is why Sawyer gets emotional when he reads it. But he is not a good person on the inside at all. When Kate sees all this, she gets angry, takes the letter, and leaves. Sawyer then starts remembering the past. We see, my friend, that Sawyer was having an affair with a married woman named Jessica. Jessica once told Sawyer that her husband was rich and had a lot of money, which Sawyer could potentially take and invest with him. Sawyer agrees, intending to take the money and scam Jessica and her husband. He doesn't love Jessica. He just wants her and her husband's money. Sawyer goes to meet Jessica's husband, pretending to be an investor, and manages to convince him to give him all his money. One day, Sawyer goes to the house of Jessica and her husband to take the money and leave, successfully scamming them. But at that moment, Sawyer sees their son, the child. Sawyer then refuses to take the money and destroy that family. This means that Sawyer did not cause the death of the child's parents, as the letter suggested. What is the story behind that letter? I will explain everything later. In any case, we return to the present. We see Shannon's condition worsening, which frustrates Jack. He decides to go to Sawyer and take the inhalers, even if by force. Saeed tells Jack that he highly suspects Sawyer was the one who attacked him, so he couldn't pinpoint the signal's location and leave the island, as it seems Sawyer enjoys life here and wants to stay. Based on this, Saeed tells Jack he will join him to interrogate Sawyer. So, my friend, they go and kidnap Sawyer and torture him until Sawyer tells them he will reveal the location of Shannon's inhalers if they let Kate come and talk to him. Kate indeed comes. Sawyer then tells her the truth, that he never stole the inhalers at all. Sawyer tells Kate this because he loves her, my friend. He informs her that he genuinely doesn't know where the inhalers are, but everyone is falsely accusing him. Kate believes him and goes to tell Jack and Saeed, who naturally don't believe her. Saeed then re-enters to get the inhalers from Sawyer by force. They fight, and Saeed accidentally stabs Sawyer in the shoulder with a knife. Jack immediately begins treating Sawyer, and Sawyer recovers. When Sawyer recovers, Kate comes to him again and tells him she read the letter he had and realized the letter wasn't sent from a child to Sawyer, but was sent by Sawyer himself as a child to the man who caused the death of Sawyer's parents. The man who caused the death of Sawyer's mother and father was also coincidentally named Sawyer. We learn here, my friend, that when Sawyer was a child, a man named Sawyer caused his parents' death. The child Sawyer then sent him that letter. When Sawyer grew up, he wanted to be exactly like the Sawyer who killed his family and nearly killed Jessica and her husband, as we saw before. But he couldn't bring himself to do the same thing that was done to him as a child, so he wouldn't destroy another child's life. Based on all this, Kate tells Sawyer that he genuinely has a good person inside him and he shouldn't keep trying to be a trashy copy of the man who caused his family's death. He needs to forget all this and live his life. Sawyer agrees with her words, and we start to feel that Sawyer might change. Next, we see Kate going to Saeed, who informs her that he will leave everyone and travel around the island, searching for the source of the Frenchwoman's message signal. He believes if they can find it, they will be able to leave the island. Kate agrees with him and wishes him good luck. On the other side, we see that Shannon is now well because Jack treated her using a plant found in the forest here. Thus, Shannon no longer needs her asthma inhalers or anything else, and everything is fine. At the same time, we see Charlie getting closer to the pregnant woman with everyone here, whose name is Claire. Charlie seems to have a crush on her. He takes her from the beach to live with everyone in the cave so she can be safe. Remember Claire well, my friend, because she is important to Charlie and to us. Now, we leave all this and go to Saeed, who has been walking around the forest searching for the signal source, as we said. But the problem is that while Saeed was walking, he suddenly falls into a trap. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a bunker-like place, and in front of Saeed is a woman he has never seen before. In short, this woman is not one of the people who survived the plane crash with Saeed. This woman is the one who set the trap for Saeed and is now holding him captive in this strange bunker. She finds a picture of a girl with Saeed and asks him who this girl is and why he keeps her photo. Saeed begins to remember some memories from the past. We return to the past and we see that Saeed, my friend, used to work in the Iraqi Republican Guard and was an officer in the communications division. One time, the unit Saeed worked in arrested a girl named Nadia, claiming she was a traitor and dealing with foreign entities against Iraq. But Saeed knew Nadia was a good person and he loved her, so he was interrogating her so she would confess, allowing him to avoid killing her. However, Nadia wouldn't confess to anything because she hadn't done anything wrong. One day, Saeed's commander at work ordered him to kill Nadia immediately. Saeed reluctantly agreed to kill her. One day Saeed went to Nadia, took her from her cell to kill her, but Saeed didn't kill her, my friend. Instead, he sent away the guards who were with him and showed Nadia a way to escape. But just before Nadia could run, Saeed's commander arrived and was about to shoot Nadia. Saeed quickly shot and killed the commander instead to save Nadia. Saeed then shot himself and told Nadia to escape. He would frame everything, telling everyone that she stole his gun, shot the commander, shot him, and escaped. Nadia decided to escape, but before she did, she took a photo of herself that was with Saeed, wrote him a farewell message on it, and left. To this day, Saeed knows absolutely nothing about Nadia, and all he has left of her is that photograph, which he still keeps to remember her. The memories of the past end, and we return to the present. We see Saeed still sitting with the woman who captured him. He tells her the story of Nadia and then asks her who she is and how she got here. The woman tells him her name is Danielle Rousseau, and she is French. She came with a French science team to this island to study it 16 years ago. But something unexplained happened, and her entire team was killed by people living on this island. They were all killed secretly. Danielle also says that she was the one who sent the SOS signal via the radio that Saeed intercepted, and she sent it 16 full years ago. But no one has come to rescue her from that time until this moment. Saeed tells Danielle that there are no people living on the island, that no one killed her team, and that it is clear she killed them, suggesting she is crazy. This offends Danielle, and she tells Saeed that there are people living on the island, and she hears their whispers every day, and that they killed her team, not her. Saeed wants to calm Danielle down, so he tries to agree with her, but he notices she has a broken music box. He realizes the box belongs to her son, who also died. Saeed offers to fix the box for her, and Saeed manages to repair it. This makes Danielle very happy, and she begins to calm down. Danielle then leaves Saeed and goes outside when she hears a sound coming from outside the bunker. Saeed tells her it could just be one of the monsters that attacked and killed his friends, but Danielle tells him there are no monsters, those are human beings. She leaves him and walks away. Saeed then frees himself and exits the bunker. When Danielle returns, she doesn't find him, so she looks around for him until Saeed appears and holds her at gunpoint with a rifle he found in the bunker. Saeed tries to shoot her, but the rifle has no bullets. Danielle then decides to kill Saeed, but Saeed keeps talking to her and manages to influence her. Danielle doesn't kill him. She leaves him and walks away. Saeed then leaves to return to the others. He starts hearing strange whispering sounds coming from the forest around him. He realizes these are the whispering sounds Danielle was always talking about, and it's clear they are indeed not alone on the island, just as Danielle said. In any case, we return to Claire, who was sleeping with everyone in the cave, but she starts having a terrifying nightmare. She sees my friend Locke and her unborn child and many other things like that. She suddenly wakes up horrified and terrified, to the point that she wakes up everyone so they can see her. Charlie tries to calm her down. Now, before I continue telling you what happened and is happening, let's go back to the past one more time to learn more about Claire. We return to the past and see that Claire was engaged to a young man named Thomas. One day, Claire spoke to Thomas and informed him that she was pregnant. Thomas decided he would take her in, marry her officially, and acknowledge the child she was carrying. And that is exactly what happened. But after a while, Thomas found this life difficult and realized he couldn't handle the responsibility. Therefore, with utter audacity, Thomas asked Claire to take the child she was carrying and leave him entirely. Claire did just that, heartbroken, and completely separated from Thomas. Claire then went with a friend to a fortune teller to read her future. The strange thing is that this person, my friend, did not read Claire's fortune, sensing something was wrong with her, and refused to read her anything. He returned her money and sent her away. But after a short time, Claire went back to the fortune teller again and asked him to read her future. The fortune teller agreed this time and read for Claire. He immediately told her, "You are pregnant," and asked her what she planned to do with the child. Claire informed him that she wouldn't be able to provide for or raise the child, so she would offer him up for adoption. But the fortune teller informed her that this was the biggest mistake and that she had to raise the child herself. However, Claire did not pay attention to the fortune teller's words, left him and walked away. Over the course of a month, my friend, the fortune teller kept calling Claire frequently on the phone, asking her not to offer the child for adoption, but Claire refused, not understanding why the fortune teller was doing this. But one day, Claire went to a couple to adopt her son immediately after he was born. She made an agreement with the couple, and everything was perfectly settled. But at the last moment, she remembered the fortune teller and felt his words might be right. so she refused to give her son to the family and did not complete the deal. Afterward, Claire went back to the fortune teller. He then asked her to board a plane and fly to Los Angeles. He told her people there would care for her until she gave birth and was perfectly fine, and then they would take the child from her and raise him under their supervision. He asked her to board that specific plane no matter what happened to her. Claire actually boarded the plane, but she never reached Los Angeles, as she crashed onto the island with everyone else. This lets us know that the fortune teller likely knew what would happen to the plane and asked Claire to board it for that reason. But why he did that in the first place and what the story of the child is, we don't know the truth, but surely, as always, everything will be revealed later. The memories of the past end here, and we return to the present. We see, my friend, that Claire was sleeping, and suddenly she wakes up to someone trying to attack her. She screams, and the person immediately runs away. Jack and the others wake up afterward, but they find no one, so they go out to look for the person who attacked Claire, but they find no one. During this time, Jack was searching for the strange person with Hurley. Hurley tells Jack that they must create a census of everyone at the camp because it's possible that someone among them is unsafe and could be the one who attacked Claire. Jack tells Hurley to start doing that and begin gathering information about everyone living with them. Generally, Jack and Hurley fail to find anyone, which leads Jack to believe that Claire was hallucinating a bit. Jack goes to Claire and tells her that everything she saw was a delusion and not real. This, of course, upsets Claire, so she leaves the cave and decides to return to live at the beach. Charlie walks with her so she won't be alone. Meanwhile, Hurley starts going around asking everyone for their names and details. Hurley reaches a person named Ethan and takes his information. Hurley then goes to Sawyer and asks for the passenger manifest of the plane, which Sawyer coincidentally has, having found it earlier. Sawyer gives Hurley the manifest, and Hurley does not find Ethan's name on it. He immediately realizes that Ethan was not on the plane with them, and it seems clear he was already living on the island from the beginning. Hurley goes and informs Jack of all this. In addition, my friend, Saeed now arrives and informs everyone that he met Danielle, that she is living on the island alone, and that she says there are people living on the island besides her. These people are likely the ones who have been killing them. At this moment, Jack believes that someone attacked Claire and that she wasn't just hallucinating, and he suspects that person is Ethan because he is not one of them, as we said. At that very moment, we see Ethan appear before Charlie and Claire in the forest. We don't know his true intentions, but they are certainly not good. Back in the cave, my friend, when Jack and the others learned that Ethan was a stranger, they suspected he might have harmed Charlie and Claire. They immediately decide to search for them. Jack, Locke, Kate, and Boone go out to look for them in the forest. They split up. Locke and Boone decide to search one area, and Jack and Kate search another. We continue with Locke and Boone, who keep searching for Charlie and Claire everywhere but don't find them. Instead, they find something completely different. A hatch like a door in the ground in the forest. It leads to a bunker underground. They decide to try and open the door to find out what is beneath it. Meanwhile, Jack and Kate continue searching the forest for Charlie and Claire until Ethan suddenly appears. Ethan starts attacking Jack, telling him that he and the others must stay away from him and the people on the island. Ethan then leaves and walks away. We still don't know who the people Ethan is talking about are, but we know the island has many inhabitants, just as Danielle said, and the maniacal Ethan is one of them. Jack and Kate continue searching for Charlie and Claire until they find Charlie hanged from a tree. Charlie is still alive, so Jack and Kate quickly take him down and try to revive him. After some struggle, Jack successfully revives him, and Charlie is okay. Charlie returns with the others and tells them that Ethan did this to him, and that he doesn't know what Ethan did to Claire, but it certainly isn't good. Charlie doesn't say anything else. He remains silent from the shock, my friend. What happened to Charlie reminds Jack of a memory from the past. So we return to the past. We see that Jack was once in the hospital, and a nurse informed him that a patient his father was operating on was going to die. Because Jack's father performed the surgery while drunk, mistakenly cutting an artery in her body. Jack goes to the operating room patient and tries to save her, but he fails, and the patient tragically dies. Afterward, Jack talked to his father, who told him what to say later to the committee investigating them, so that Jack's father wouldn't be suspended from work. Jack, however, believed his father must be suspended because he suffered from a serious condition that caused his hands to tremble, besides being an alcoholic. In short, his presence in the operating room posed a danger to any patient. But Jack's father completely refused this and only asked Jack to obey him and do exactly as he was told. Jack reluctantly agrees. After a while, they both enter the inquiry committee. Jack intends not to blame his father so that he won't be suspended from work. However, Jack learns during the inquiry that his father knew the patient was pregnant. Yet he took the risk and performed the surgery, destroying her life and the life of the baby she was carrying. This truly upsets Jack, so he tells the committee the whole truth. That his father performed the surgery while under the influence of alcohol, and due to the tremor in his hands combined with the alcohol, he lost focus, cut the patient's artery, and caused her death. This news severely shocks the committee, and they immediately suspend Jack's father from practicing medicine. Because of this, Jack and his father cut ties permanently until Jack went to look for his father in Australia and discovered he had died, as we said. The memories of the past end here, and with this point, this part of the summary also concludes. I know, my friend, that many questions remain unanswered, such as, what exactly did Ethan do to Claire? Will everyone be able to find her? Who are the people living here with Ethan on the island? What exactly is the story of Danielle? And who are the people whispering to her in the jungle, whom Saeed also heard? And is the island really magical or strange? All these questions and more will be answered in the upcoming summaries, because, my friend, this series is very, very long. We will spend some good time together on it. So make sure you hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel so you receive all the new content and hear all these summaries and parts firsthand. Until we meet in the next part, all I can say is goodbye.